Hello and welcome to the Feel Your Feelings podcast. I'm your host, Victoria Makanjuola, and this is the hashtag Misunderstood series. It's a series of interviews with Gen Z artists, musicians, TikTokers, influencers, my friends, and more. Today I am joined by a special guest. He goes by the name Asher Yellow. You may have heard of him. I stan his music. Yes, I am an Asher Yellow stan, and he is joining me today from Los Angeles. Asher, what's up? How are you feeling?
Hi, Victoria. Thank you for having
Hey,
me.
you're welcome. How are you feeling?
I'm good, thank you. It's a pleasure to be on here to talk about this topic, man. It's so necessary.
For sure, for sure. And I had in mind people like you as a stan, as I said. You have a new album out. Congratulations on your new
Thank
album
you. Thank
called
you.
Mr. Misunderstood.
Which is crazy.
And yeah,
This is
extremely.
happening. Yeah.
Extremely. I was listening to it yesterday, just bouncing to my favorite songs. By the way, I love There Ain't Nobody and Let Go. I love Let
Really?
Go. Love Let Go.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's hilarious because everybody's been like DM me, texting me, like saying "Here with You" is the one that's winning, and I'm like, that's so interesting because like the whole EP is so built out production wise, and then "Here with You" is such a disconnect from everything. But I love the energy of "There Ain't Nobody" and "Let Go" is like I think would be the most vulnerable song for me because like it's very honest.
I was curious about Let Go because at the end you said, but I can't let go.
Yeah,
And I was like, wait, plot twist. Like, because it had a very like spiritual and relaxed vibe.
yeah,
Like, I
yeah,
don't know if
yeah,
you've heard of like, the law of detachment and like the seven spiritual laws of success by Deepak Chopra. I'm really into like spirituality
yeah. There you
books, right?
go. Love it.
And it made me think of like the law of detachment. Like when you detach from something that you might really want to do or you might really want to have,
Yeah,
you have to let it go so it can find you. Does that
sure.
make sense?
Yeah,
So that's
no,
kind of what it
definitely.
that's kind of what it reminded me of.
Yeah, because I mean, I think a lot of the time we listen to music that kind of just sticks within one narrative and then you're left with that. But my whole goal of the EP is to show that, just dismissing the pain you have or the past you've had doesn't necessarily mean you're healing. So I really wanted within the project itself, since Let Go is song 3, it kind of brings us into this climactic moment, which goes into In This Ocean, and essentially that being this acceptance of that brokenness and that it's so necessary to recognize it because once you do that, then you're equipped to actually like talk to other people who are hurting because you've actually dealt with the stuff that's in you rather than just being like, you know. So yeah, it's awesome that you like Let Go. I love Let Go as well.
I love it. I truly do. So let's get to the root of the series. So first of all,
Mm.
have you ever felt like you were misunderstood and why? If you want me to go first, I can go first.
You go first. You go first.
You know what? I mean, I think for me, so I don't know if you know this, but my mom is Black American, my dad is Nigerian. So I have Nigerian heritage on my dad's side, like yourself, my brother from another mother.
Brother.
Uh, but yeah, I grew up with a long last name. I think my last name is like 3 letters longer than
Wow.
yours.
Yeah.
And I'm from Texas. I don't sound like I'm from Texas, which I've gotten. Um, and I'm when I was a kid, I was just kind of like a weird kid. I was
Yeah.
kind of different from people.
Hmm.
Very introverted, very to myself, very reserved, but I had a very vivid imagination.
Sure.
Um, so I think in some instances where I felt misunderstood was in like group situations when people would think that um, maybe I thought I was better than them or that I was like a goody two shoes. And
Hmm.
I would kind of hate that because I'm like, that's not me. Like, I'm not mean. I'm not standoffish. I'm just really shy. And it takes me a minute to open up
Sure.
to people and like get to know people. And if I like you or something, then I'm not going to talk to you. It's
Right.
weird, but I have to take my time to, get to know you first. Um,
Yeah.
Long story short, your turn.
Yeah. No, I mean it's definitely true. I think when you have a strong sense of self, especially as a young person, it's very intimidating for people around us, because very often, we live in a culture, especially in the US. I'm from England originally, so I'm from Brighton and immigrated here, and that's in of itself a reason why I felt quite misunderstood. Being a light skinned Brit is pretty rare. Instead of like living in the States, and a lot of my upbringing has been here, but I've always had a very strong sense of who I am and what I want to do in life. I found music production when I was 11 years old and started writing at
Wow.
14 and then put it all together at 16. So throughout that whole period of life, I was very dedicated to my craft already. And on top of that, I was very studious. I ended high school with a 4.28, and I was very much trying to, end that
Nerds.
nerds and that chapter of my life well, because I wanted to close that book. But I think a lot of people didn't understand that because they were working towards getting into college,
Mm-hmm.
getting into wherever.
Yeah.
Where for me, it was more of a value of just work ethic and, doing the best I can in any given circumstance. And so it meant that I felt like I was ready to go straight from high school, straight into music. I didn't go to college or anything. And that was the path I needed to lead, but a lot of people didn't understand that.
Lucky you didn't go to college. Lucky.
I mean, everyone says that. It's
Right.
hilarious. I think the timing of it was crazy too because I was the class of 2020, so that was when the
Oh,
pandemic happened. So my senior year got cut in half, and
yeah.
it meant that a lot of people were going into college, but
Mm-hmm.
onto straight onto their laptop rather than any sort of anywhere. Like everyone was pretty much in LA when they were starting college, which is so weird and bizarre. And so for me, I was like, thank God I have time to just
Yeah.
like practice even more and go even deeper into what I wanted to do. And the pandemic birthed two projects now, which is so cool that I've been able to do that with the time that I've had. So yeah, I'm just grateful for the circumstances of it, but I'm also just grateful for the conviction I had from the
Mm-hmm.
beginning because it allowed for these things to happen.
For sure. Like 2020 was definitely like a creative revolution. I felt
For
like for
sure.
me, that's how this podcast was inspired,
Yeah.
was from the events that happened, the pandemic, the Black Lives Matter movement, and just so
Mhm.
many different things. Me feeling isolated
Mhm.
from my friends and having to move from Washington, D.C. back home to Texas
Mm.
and not really having anyone to talk to. So just creating a platform where I could do that and have
Yeah.
those conversations
Cheers.
was big for me. So
Yeah.
yeah, cheers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cheers. No, definitely. And it's awesome because this is so necessary for our generation specifically, because there's a lot of crazy influences that are going on around us, whether it be social media, media in general, entertainment,
Yeah.
just general popular culture. It's so difficult to know what's true and what's real and what's not and what's valuable, what's sustainable, how to build character, how to build a legacy. That's all stuff that isn't really talked about because everything's so got to get it now, got to get it now. You
Yeah.
know what I
Right now.
mean? And so, I for me with my music, I'm not a big thing at all. I'm the bottom of the bottom in the sense that I nobody really does know who I am. I am misunderstood still to a lot of people, and that's fine because I'm not trying to do this immediately. I'm really trying to build up a foundation where people can go to my page, go to my music, and see that I have been working this hard for as long as I have. It's not just oh, he came out of nowhere. No, I've already been
Yeah.
doing this for almost 10 years. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
you're seeing 10 years of work, not over the pandemic work. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm really excited for the next phase because I have a plan of longevity rather than of immediate gratification, which I think we're all taught, especially in the States, through, like how TikTok works. You have your 15 seconds and then you get famous and then you're like, but I can't sustain it. It's like,
Exactly.
is that's the
Yeah.
thing, but everyone wants that because it looks good, but it doesn't feel good. A lot of these people aren't happy, and so I want to be happy with the work I do. I want to feel fulfilled in it, and I want people to hear it and be like, "Oh my gosh, I actually felt something." Because that's the thing that I've been getting is that a lot of the people that are DM me or texting me after this EP release, which literally came out last weekend, like everyone's main thing is that they are feeling connected to the songs, which
Yeah.
is so rare nowadays. You know, there's so many songs that get released like every week. It's crazy. There's like, I think it was, the statistic was like 60,000 songs. It's like so
A
many
day?
people a week. But it's
Wow.
crazy. There's too much content for people to even
Yeah.
absorb. So, I just hope that the stories can cut through and reach people where they're at. Because it's nothing to be forced. And if you don't like it, cool. if
Yeah. I
if
mean,
you do,
do you mind if we like stay there for a second? Because
mm,
before I dive into these next questions, with
for
the
sure.
reason why I say I'm a stan of your music.
Yeah.
So I feel like I came on the bandwagon kind of late because the first single that I heard from you was Go Backwards.
Oh, okay.
And it was an Instagram post that your dad had posted about the single Go Backwards. And I didn't know you were an artist. I didn't know really anything about you.
Yeah.
Um, and when I heard the first, not the first bars, but like the first notes, like the dun 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 dun, dun and like the Afro beats hit, I was like, whoa, 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 I'm sold. This guy's got something. I don't know what he's got, but he's got, maybe it's the Afro beats or something, but it just like hit me. I'm like, I gotta support him. I gotta support this
Oh,
guy and whatever he's doing. Like, he's great.
that's
He's great.
amazing.
So, but yeah,
Thank you.
I came on the train pretty late. Yeah,
No, I mean,
for sure.
wherever you arrive is, it's a good time. It's the perfect time because I really do think that songs, music, art in general reaches people where they're at in that moment. There's never like, in my opinion, art actually doesn't actually make any sense at all. It seems like if you're not going through something, art is just irrelevant to whatever you're going through
Mm-hmm.
until you're in
Mm-hmm.
a moment, and then it speaks to your soul. There's such a
Yes.
different approach when it comes to the arts versus business or marketing or medicine. Like, it's totally impractical until you are in a place where you need it. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
so it's such a strange practice, like trying to create stories, trying to create narratives that can touch people where they're at when you can't predict where they're going to be. You
that's
can't
right.
predict who's going to be there. So it's just a matter of telling the truth and telling stories that are actually relevant to people and yourself. Because I think there's a lot of artists out there that are talking about nonsense and they don't even uphold that nonsense. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
it's just all around unauthentic and untrue. And so people can, bop around, do their little dance to whatever, but are they going to remember? Probably not. Are they going to come back to that place? Probably not. Because it doesn't actually touch here. So for me, I'm like, how can I access people's hearts? Because that's ultimately how you help people feel seen. Because I felt so unseen a lot of my life, and so I always know that I can be recognized through the stories I tell rather than just passing by people. Because a lot of the time, I think we may be walking down the street hoping just someone will look at us. You know what I mean? Someone will
Mm-hmm.
smile at us. Like, I really
Mm-hmm.
hope that today people think I look good. You know what I mean? And I think that that's such a dangerous place to be in because you're totally valuing only the superficial instead of your actual heart. So all you can do is get to know who you are, know your essence, and know what you do have in you, and have confidence in that. And then you're able to touch people so much more because you're not operating out of lack, you're operating out of an overflow of love and compassion and grace to other people as well as yourself.
That was so lovely. You just speak so eloquently. Like, wow, I could keep listening to you. What's one thing other people don't know about you that you want them to know?
I want them to know. I'm just a normal dude, I think
I'm just.
no, but I mean, I think that's important to say because I think a lot of people put artists or people who have some sort of renown, um, or some sort of following that they're better. Not,
Mm-hmm.
like, if anything, a lot of those people are actually like more sad than you, and you'll be very
Mm.
surprised. You'd be very surprised. It's a very strange world we live in where you only see the good parts,
Yeah.
and I think that that's so dangerous because whatever you're putting out, I think you also is how you see yourself, and if you see yourself as
That's
this
right.
perfect human, you're going to have so much pressure that isn't coming from anyone else but yourself. And when you put
Mm-hmm.
that pressure on yourself, that is then put out, and then it comes back. I think anything that you put out does come back to you. And so
I agree.
if you just go about life like, I am content with where I am and who I am, then that just gets comes back, you know what I mean? And so for me,
Yeah.
I think something that I just want people to know is like I'm just a normal person. I just articulate things differently, and I've had a lot of experience in my life. I've lived a lot of lives. I feel like I'm 30. I'm only 20.
I heard you say that in like a
I
post
no,
that
I'm
you
so
felt like you were
serious.
30 when you were 16.
I was
I'm like,
I was
whoa.
dude, I'm not kidding. Like most of my friends are 30, 35 cuz people just my age are not in the same place. And that's not to bash anybody, like everybody has their own journey, but the way that
Yeah.
I've been raised, the way that I have experienced the world, the only continent I haven't been on is Asia. So I've been
Hmm.
everywhere my whole
Okay.
life. So I've seen a lot and experienced a lot, and I think that that in turn makes me able to articulate things better, in a way that's more coherent to what's actually going on than anything that's just like conjured up. So I'm just a normal guy doing my best to be the best person I can be, and my outlet is music and art and creation and speaking. I love speaking to people. So yeah.
I love it. I think you just touched on my next question, which is what's the one person, place, or thing that makes you feel the most understood?
Mm. Place or thing. Well, it's interesting. I have an interesting relationship when I listen to music because I produce, write, record everything myself.
Hmm.
So I'm very analytical when it comes to songs. Like I'll listen to songs, some of the top songs in the world, and I will be like, bass could be a bit more. You know what I mean? Like it's very hard for me to enjoy music sometimes
Yeah.
because I'm looking at it from a creator's perspective rather than a listener's perspective. So when there are songs that I just get immersed in, it's like I am fully immersed. Like it's very very hard for that to happen to me. So it's a huge moment for me when I get to actually connect to an artist, connect to a sound, connect to a lyric. Because it's just so rare. So I think music, there's like only a few songs, few artists that have done it over the course of my life because I think there's like a different song for each stage of growing up, you know what I mean? Places that I can still revisit.
Yeah.
But I think music can definitely touch me. And I think just people, when they recognize who I am as a person rather than what I do. Because there's a lot of emphasis on that, especially in entertainment. You're always asked, like, oh, so what do you do? Like, what's your gig?
Yeah.
What are your accomplishments? Like, all this stuff. And it's like, okay, yeah, sure. But, like, who are you? Like, my favorite question, and you can steal this if you want, when I meet people is how's your heart? I don't say how are
Ooh.
you?
Ooh, that's deep. I think I heard Viola Davis say something like that in an interview
Really?
recently, and she's been bearing her soul. And I
Yeah.
think I can't. I think it was something like that, but
Yeah.
it was like, don't ask me. Like, keep going. I think
Oh,
that's what you were
yeah.
saying.
No, it's such an important question because every time I ask it, people go, "Oh, huh," because
How
they
is
haven't
your heart,
thought about.
Asher?
Yeah. Oh, my heart, it's actually really good
Yeah,
right now, man. It's
that's
really
good.
good. I'm really grateful. It's been a very turbulent season for me this past year, but like really coming out of it in a really awesome way. So thank you for asking.
I would,
Um,
I'm going to turn the question on myself. I think
okay.
my heart is like beaming right now. Like, if
Mm,
me a year ago could go, if I could tell myself a year ago, like, hey, this is
mm-hmm.
what you're doing now, you're interviewing one of your favorite artists, one of the most underrated Gen Z artists of, your generation, I'll be like, you're doing a great job. You might put a lot of pressure on yourself, as a
Yeah,
perfectionist,
sure.
but you're doing a great job, and just like try and understand people as much as you can because you don't know what
Yeah.
people are going through. So,
No, no, yeah. And I
yeah.
think the more you understand yourself, I think the more you recognize that everyone's got their own thing.
Right,
Because I think
right, right.
I think a lot of people, go about life judging everybody and whatever. But then as soon as they start seeing like, oh, I don't like that part of me. That's weird. I need
Yeah.
to like do something about that. Then you're like, oh, I can see those tendencies in this person. Maybe they're actually having a similar experience. You know what I mean? Your
Yeah.
empathy gets heightened the more that you understand yourself and those around you. So yeah, no, that's so cool. I'm so glad you're beaming. That's such a good word.
Yeah, like you're just deep, 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 deep. I love the artists that can reach deeper than what they seem like on the outside, if that makes sense.
Sure.
So yeah,
Sure. Yeah. It's so hard to communicate this on just posting. You know what I mean? Like that's what
yeah,
I actually genuinely hate social media. I'll be totally totally frank. Like it
yeah.
is such a balance and such a weird thing for me. Like, you know, it's become such a necessitous tool for artists and creators and people
Yeah.
in general, and that's such a difficult place because I feel like I'm an old head in a lot of ways.
Oh, me too. I'm an
In
old
this
soul
sense, yeah,
for
no,
sure.
it's like, what are these kids doing? But
What
like,
are these kids?
but for me, like, I think I do the best on Instagram. I've tried the TikTok
Same.
thing. It's just, it's
It's the
not.
Wild West.
It's really wild. It gets wild. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, bro.
I actually
So,
talked to a TikToker for this series.
oh, there you go.
She, the Instagram, I don't know, the TikTok handle is Inspirational Tuesdays, and I saw her on live, just talking true stuff, you know, being like an underdog and feeling misunderstood, and that's where this series, where I got my inspiration for the series, is
Oh
because
wow.
like I want to talk to those people. I want to talk to those people that don't always feel like they're seen, even if you do have an album out right now. But how do you really feel? You know, like
Yeah.
what's really going on?
Sure.
So yeah, shout out to her because that's where I got my inspiration from.
Shut up.
Last question for you is what's well of the series is what's one thing you've created that helps others to understand you better?
Um, I think just my pivot with content creation in general, because I used to, like, the beginning of this year, it was a huge emphasis on like doing covers and stuff, but just
Mm-hmm.
doing it in like a fun, creative way. So I would make these covers where I remix songs, completely redo the production. I show you me doing the production, and then me doing a verse, and then me doing this, that, and the other. It was a lot, dude. I spent.
That weekend cover though, the sacrifice cover, that was good.
Oh,
That
you
was
like?
really
I was just
good.
singing it. I love that. I love that song so much. That's one of the songs that I'm like, oh, like I just enthralled. I don't analyze anything. I'm just like, yep, go ahead. And so yeah, that phase of content creation, I think, was what I was initially doing. But then, as I started releasing my own stuff, I really wanted to figure out how can I do this while using my own personality, showing my skill sets. Because, I think when you just put out a video and that's that people's first impression of you, there's so much that if you do too much, people just keep going,
Mm,
because it's too complicated. You have to reach people where they're at and, kind of infiltrate people's short attention spans, which is such a weird psychological. So
yeah,
now I think I'm slowly figuring out that people just like me. You know
yeah,
what I mean? Like, instead of like all the things that I do have to do, because a lot of the time I think we get um bogged down. A lot of artists that, we're nothing without our music. But I'm just trying to get into the mindset that if I didn't have music at all, didn't have art, didn't have my ability of drawing, all my cover art on drawing stuff and whatever, am I still like a good person? And every time I can say yes every day, then I know that I'm on the right track and I'm doing the right thing, and that naturally what I end up creating is authentic to that, instead of this thing of like, please listen to me, please, because that's a lot of I think you get that from a lot of artists sometimes, like
begging, yeah,
they create these videos and they're like, oh guys, listen, please,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
very performative, yeah,
It's very performative, so,
yeah,
and people just want to like engage with a real person, because whoever's watching is a real person. So yeah, I think that showing more of myself, doing more live streams on Instagram is a lot of fun. And maybe I should do lives on TikTok, and that's all I use it for.
for
But
sure.
I have, that's my method, is just you know trying to show people that it doesn't matter what space you're in, doesn't matter who you are, what you do. If you're a good person, you're doing a good job. you know,
Doing a good job, Victoria. You're doing a
you're
good
doing
job.
a great job. You're doing a great job.
Pat yourself on the back. Pat yourself on the back. Give yourself a hug. Thank you so much for joining me, Asher. Where can my listeners find you? Where can they stream your music? If they have no idea who you are, where can they go listen to you?
They can go to Asher Yellow. Oh, that rhymed. So my name is Asher Yellow, Asher Yelo, and that is literally on every social media platform, and every streaming service. So Apple Music, Spotify, Tidal, Amazon, SoundCloud, all of that stuff. So you can find me at Asher Yellow everywhere.
This is just the beginning. Heard it here.
Yes, sir.
For the Misfits. #for the Misfits. Thank you so much, Asher.
Thank you so much, Victoria.